When I caught my husband cheating, I didn't scream. I didn't throw things or demand explanations. I simply stood there in the doorway, watching as the man I once adored held another woman in his arms. They looked so smug, so certain that I would crumble. And for a moment, I almost did. Almost. But instead, I smiled, because I realized something in that instant. They weren't taking anything from me. They were setting me free. He stammered when he saw me. "It's not what it looks like," he said, like a fool. His mistress, that wide-eyed young woman who used to call me sister, shrank behind him, pretending to be scared. I almost laughed. I'd seen that performance before, sweet, innocent, helpless. The same act she used to worm her way into my home, into my trust, into his bed. I turned away without another word. Let them think I was broken. Let them celebrate their little victory. Because while they were busy mocking me behind closed doors, I was already planning their downfall. It didn't take long. My husband had always underestimated me, thought I was too soft, too naive to understand the numbers he flashed around or the contracts he signed in my name. What he never realized was that I had built those numbers, managed those deals, and knew exactly where every secret lay buried. The company wasn't his. It was mine. He just never bothered to read the fine print. The first thing I did was quietly transfer the key shares back into my control. He was too distracted with his mistress to notice. The second thing, I made a few calls to certain board members, the ones who owed me favors. Within a week, the board had turned. Within 2, I had the votes to remove him as CEO. And by the end of the month, the company, his pride, his legacy, the thing he once told me I could never live without, was firmly in my hands. The day he found out, he came storming into my office. I was sitting at my desk, wearing the same calm smile I'd worn the day I caught him cheating. He slammed the door, his voice breaking with anger. "You can't do this to me," he shouted. "I made this company." I looked up at him, meeting his furious eyes with perfect composure. "No," I said softly. "You built your career on my silence. You mistook my loyalty for weakness. But I learned something after you betrayed me. Silence can be a weapon, too." He stood there speechless, shaking with rage. I almost pitied him. Almost. Then his mistress appeared at the door, dressed in expensive clothes she didn't pay for, clutching a handbag I bought. "What's going on?" she asked nervously. He turned on her, desperate, furious. "This is your fault," he hissed. I watched them crumble, their beautiful facade collapsing right before me, and for the first time in years, I felt light. Free. I didn't ruin them in one strike. That would have been too easy. I let them fall slowly, the way they made me fall. His mistress discovered that love doesn't pay the bills when the money runs dry. The friends who once gossiped with her stopped answering her calls. The parties she used to attend closed their doors, and when she realized the man she fought so hard to steal was nothing without me, she finally understood. I was never the loser in this story. As for him, he lost everything. His title, his respect, his wealth. The press had a field day when they learned about his indiscretions. I didn't even need to leak the story. Karma did the work for me. And while he scrambled to save face, I built something new. Something mine. The company thrived under my leadership, and for the first time people saw me not as his wife, but as the woman who built an empire from betrayal. But revenge, I learned, isn't as sweet as I imagined. It doesn't heal the scars. It only reminds you where they are. Late at night, when the noise faded, I would still think about the woman I used to be. The one who believed love could fix anything. The one who stayed even when she should have left. I mourned her quietly, and then I let her go. Months passed before I met him, the man who would change everything. It happened at a charity gala, one I almost didn't attend. He was a quiet man, the opposite of my ex. Calm, attentive, with eyes that didn't wander, and a voice that didn't demand attention. We talked about books, business, travel. Simple things. He didn't try to impress me. He listened. It felt strange, being seen without being measured. I tried to keep my distance. After everything I'd been through, love felt dangerous, like walking barefoot through glass. But he was patient. He never asked about my past, never pushed. He just stayed. And one evening, as we watched the city lights from the balcony, he said something that stayed with me forever. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. The fact that you're still standing after everything, that's strength enough. It was then I realized. Revenge gave me power, but kindness gave me peace. He never tried to fix me. He simply reminded me that I was never broken. One morning, my ex showed up again. He was thinner, paler, desperate. He begged for another chance, claimed he'd changed. I looked at him, the man who once made me feel small, and felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just nothing. You had your chance, I told him, and you threw it away for something that was never worth it. He looked like he might cry. I didn't care. I turned and walked away, not out of cruelty, but out of closure. He wasn't my problem anymore. When I finally remarried, it was quiet. No grand ceremony, no crowd. Just me, the man who saw me for who I truly was, and a promise not to lose myself again. The world called me cold once, ruthless even. But in truth, I had simply learned what it meant to survive. Years later, when I passed my old house, the one I left behind the night I caught him cheating, I smiled. The windows were dark, the garden overgrown. It looked smaller somehow, like a memory fading with time. I realized I didn't hate him anymore. I didn't need to. I had everything I wanted: freedom, respect, peace, and love that didn't hurt. They say revenge is best served cold, but I disagree. The best revenge is to thrive, to rise so high that the people who tried to break you can no longer reach. And I did. I built a new life, a stronger one. I didn't just take back what was mine. I became something they never expected. Untouchable. So when people whisper about the woman who lost her husband but gained an empire, I let them. Because they'll never understand the truth, that losing him wasn't my downfall. It was my beginning.